glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations. Much love and respect to you. I came out there pushing this word out in truth and sincerity. And this lesson is going to be another expose on Esau, Edom. You know, specifically by John Perkins, right? Which is an economist, right, who exposes the fact that, or he exposes how these America specifically, you know, exploits these other nations, all right, and especially the Israelite nations. Okay, so when these Edomites like Matt Walsh, these devils, tell you about, oh, you know, you're living in a third world country, you could show him this and say, why are these places third world countries? Why are these places, why do they have, how'd you say it, stunned growth? Why is their growth paused? Okay, and you'll find out that it's because these Edomites, you so-called white people, are fucking insatiable, you know? And what you do is you make sure that these people cannot grow, right, by sucking them dry. And you do this by force. You don't do this by how would you say, by diplomacy. You do this by force. Okay? So let's take a listen to this.
We work many different ways, but perhaps the most common is that we will identify a third world country that has resources our corporations covet, like oil, and then arrange a huge loan to that country from the World Bank or one of its sisters. However, the money never goes to the country. Instead, it goes to our own corporations to build infrastructure projects in that country, power plants, highways, industrial parks, things that benefit a few rich people in that country, as well as our own corporations, but do not help the majority of the people at all. And yet the whole country, is left holding a huge debt. And it's such a huge debt they can't possibly repay it. So at some point, the economic hitmen go back and say, you owe us a lot of money, you can't repay your debts, so give us a pound of flesh. When I failed to bring them around, to get them to accept these loans, to get them to put their countries into servitude, then I knew that standing right behind me were what we call the jackals. And these are people who overthrow governments or assassinate their leaders. And both Jaime Roldos of Ecuador and Omar Torrijos of Panama were assassinated by CIA-sponsored jackals because I failed to corrupt them. We work many different
You heard that?
ways.
So that's the blueprint of what these Edomites do. Okay? They set up economic hitmen. All right? They go to these countries and force them to take loans that really don't go to the country. It really doesn't go to develop the country. You got all this money you're sending to particular countries, you know, millions, billions of dollars, hundreds of millions or billions of dollars consistently, and that place is not being developed. Oh, it's just because these people are stupid. Nobody's that stupid. If you give anyone, a guy off the street, $100 million, you know what I'm saying, to go and build up his country, he'll be able to do it. At least he'll do something. What's going on here is basically they're giving the money to those top people, you know, the top people of those countries. They're giving them some kickback, and the rest of the money is going to themselves. But then they still count that as a loan, which that is fraud. That's why the scripture says fraud and deceit are under his tongue. This man is he's a goddamn scam artist. Okay, but then he'll lock somebody up for scamming. He'll lock somebody up for fraud. This is a scam right here. A worldwide scam that Esau Edom is involved in, man. A worldwide scam. All right?
Fuck. Corporations.
Oh, God damn. You see? Now the screen went black because fuck, man. Every time I let this thing... screen goes black every time I let this thing... Anyways... It's the words that's important, man. Listen to the words that are being said, okay? I have another video here, but first I want to read some scriptures, all right? Damn. Screen is black. Damn. It's all good. This is Isaiah 14. And I'll start at verse 12. It says, "How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations?" That's what we told you. Lucifer is not speaking about the spiritual demon Satan. It's speaking about these top elite Edomites. Okay? This is how they have weakened the nations. They've weakened the nations through economic hitmen. Okay? Because what's the strength of a nation is money. Money's a huge component in the strength of a nation. Right? So when you destroy them financially and have them in major debt and you own all of their natural resources, guess what? You take away their strength. The scriptures say that money is a defense. Okay? So they no longer have that defense because you stunted their growth by being a leash. And that's what Esau is. Esau is a big leash. Okay? So when he's brought down, right, that's not going to be anymore. Okay? Yeah, they're going to have to pay tribute, but after a while, we're going to be, we're going to let them flourish in their own section. Let's go to Micah, the second chapter, real quick. This is Micah 2, starting at verse 1. It says, "Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand. They covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man in his house, even a man and his heritage." And this is what we're reading about, man. They're violently, taken away. Okay? And pretty much if you own the natural resources of a country, you own the country. Right? The scriptures say that the borrower is servant to the lender. So this is all a plot. This is exactly what they want to do. They're a bunch of devils, man. All right? They're a bunch of devils. That's the bottom line. Okay? Let me read that one more time. It says, "Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds." Right? Because this is all they plan these things. This is not something that they just did off of they just did randomly. No, they plan these things. Okay? When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand. Right? And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. Yeah. So, the Lord, the scriptures tell you about how, Esau, he's going to rule by the sword. That was one of his blessings, that he would live and rule by the sword. And that's what he does. But then he tries to act like he's some noble, righteous, civilized being. No, he's a complete monster ruling over these people, man, in complete anger and wrath, right? With no mercy. It's absolutely ridiculous, forcing them to take loans. John Perkins just said it, and if they don't take the loans, then the jackals come in to assassinate those leaders. And this video I'm about to play here, he's going to go into, a couple leaders that didn't accept and what happened to them. Okay, so just listen up.
Millions of us around the world, and makes people think about the way the world works. More than 20 years on, tell me how it feels that a lot of people still don't get it.
Well, yeah, it's shocking to me how naive people are, particularly in my own country, the United States. I think people around the world get the idea more strongly than people in the United States. And the recent elections here of Donald Trump have really proven that. As an example, the third edition of the book, which is about China's economic hitmen, was recently published in China, which I did not expect, because it's very critical of China. but it was published there, and I'm getting a lot of interviews and feedback from China. I think people in China really understand what's going on in the United States, and to some degree, that China's taken this position over.
Because the people in China are not retarded and ignorant as the people in America. You know, like Matt Walsh and the rest of these dumb, stupid Americans, man. You know, you Trump voting weirdo, you know, or Trump voting Edomites, or you left voting Edomites. All you are a bunch of clueless idiots. You know, although the left might know a little bit more about these economic hitmen than the right, because the right they don't like to deal with anything that makes the so-called white man look bad. Anything that paints Esau in a bad light or America in a bad light, they don't want to deal with it. They ignore it. They have cognitive dissonance. All right. So ultimately, man, they're stupid. They're ignorant. Right. So they'll tell you, oh, these are third world countries and they've never been developed and this and that. And Esau used these arguments, but then he'll never mention this. He'll never speak about the economic hitmen. He'll never speak about how they do this in these third world countries, especially Africa on a super high level, man. And they've been doing it. Okay. Which stops these people from, which stops these not just Africa, but you got Latin America. You know, they talk about the Venezuelans coming up. These guys go back to your country, this and that. Well, guess what? You've destroyed their country. You've destroyed their country by force, and he's gonna go into it because he was one of the people that worked in Latin America to do this economic hitman job. So you devils, you have a lot to pay for. So the more you speak, really, the more these devils speak, the more they condemn themselves. Okay? Let's go.
It was economic hitman. But in the United States, it appears we really don't get it here. A large majority of people just don't get it.
Okay, so we'll revisit where we're at right now in terms of who's doing what, who might be, you know, under the heel of the United States or the Chinese. But I want to step back for a while now, and I want to ask you directly, which countries were you involved in? For those who haven't read your many excellent books, which countries were you involved in fleecing?
Well, because I speak Spanish fluently, I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Latin America. I was focused on Latin America.
And these devils are so deceptive. They'll call it they'll take people that are in the Peace Corps and they'll have these names: Peace Corps, United Nations, and it sounds cute, but it's all about wickedness and oppression.
Central America, but I also worked extensively in Indonesia, Iran, and Saudi Arabia, and to some degree Egypt. So I was involved in the Middle East and Asia also. My main focus, however, was Latin America.
I remember Richard Kapuscinski in his book about the Shah of Iran writing that development is a treacherous river, as those who dive into its currents will tell you. Tell me if you came across
why is development
anybody,
a treacherous river? Because you got these devils, the hammer of the earth, over you to make sure that they get all the benefits. Okay? This is why. Okay? This is why it's a treacherous river. It should be simple. It should be okay. You have natural resources. You can trade with the other countries, but no, not with the so-called white man in power, because he's a damn he's insatiable, man. He's never satisfied. He is as hell and he is as death.
during those days, any leader who didn't buy what you were selling, who didn't want to take the offer that they couldn't refuse?
Absolutely. Two presidents did not accept the offer. The president of Ecuador, Jaime Roldos, and the head of state of Panama, Omar Torrijos. And as a result of them not taking that, I think as a result, they both died in private plane crashes within 3 months of each other. And a tremendous amount of evidence points toward those plane crashes as having been assassinations. There's never been a smoking gun found. There's no concrete evidence that those were assassinations, but I believe they were, as much of the world believes they were.
See, and he knows, he has the credibility to say that because he was in that world. Okay, he was in that world. Okay, and he mentioned the jackals that come if people don't accept. Now, what happened? They got taken out. So anyone who has any type of integrity amongst these nations, right? What happens? They take them out. So that's why you have all these corrupt leaders ruling. It's because of America. It's because of these Edomites in America. This is why you have all this corruption. Oh, it's a corrupt country. Yeah, of course it's corrupt. You make sure that it's corrupt. You make sure that the people that's on top are of low moral values. You know, so that what you could take advantage of the natural resources and the people. And they don't mind because they're getting that money. You see? And if somebody does care, what do? They take them out. Remember, when the C-19 was happening, you had certain people who, certain leaders who weren't with it. What happened to them? They ended up dead. Look at the president of Haiti. What happened to him? You know, you had people who with U.S. citizens, you know, that ran up in there and did what they had to do. Those were the jackals, man. Those were the jackals, okay? And I believe there was a few other African country nations where their people didn't play ball, you know, where the leaders didn't play ball and they got taken out. So this devil, you can't win under this devil system. So this is why we need Yahweh Shai. It's not a thing of, we got to build it. No, this devil runs the earth, okay? And you think that anyone went to jail for that? No one's going to jail for that. This devil is I mean the people that are really behind it I'm talking about. They're not going to jail. They're not facing no jail time. All right. So ultimately, you know, we need Yahweh Shai to take this man down completely. All right.
Especially in those countries.
So the people like you would be one arm of a system, and the other arm would be what? The assassins, the CIA, what?
Yeah, what we call the jackal. So basically, you know, I'd go into a president of a country and I'd say, here in this hand, I've got billions of dollars for you and your people. It's going to help you. It's going to help your friends and your cronies, the people that own the big industries. We're going to build it, but you're going to have to use this money to hire our corporations, our construction engineering companies, to build big infrastructure projects like electric power systems and highways and ports. These will really help you and your friends, and of course, make huge profits for our companies. But if you don't take this money in this hand, I get a gun. Now, I didn't actually carry a gun, but there were people we call the jackals right behind me, who were usually CIA assets. And all these leaders knew. They know what had happened to Mossadegh in Iran. They knew what happened to Allende in Chile, and on, Lumumba in the Congo, and on. The presidents were, you know, my job was pretty easy because most of the presidents.
You notice there was a so-called revolution in the Congo, and they had a bunch of Rwandans, put people to death. Okay, don't think that was by coincidence, man. Congo is very rich in natural resources, man. Okay, and I was trying to do business up there at one time, and it's so corrupt over there that every level, people want money. They want to be bribed. They want money. You know. So if you try to do business over there, you gotta pay money to the janitor. The money to the janitor will will get you in contact with this person, and you pay him to get in contact with the next. So it's just so much corruption, you know. And who did they learn that way from? They really learned that way. Well, Jake has always been corrupt, but they really mastered this way through watching these how these Edomites operate, man. You know, they figured that this is the way to get by. You know. So, anyways, I mean that's pretty much what I had, man. I'm gonna read a couple more scriptures, you know, to show you, you know, this is what this man does, man. And the Bible tells you about it, man. This is Habakkuk 2 and verse 4. It says, behold, his soul, which is lifted up, is not upright in him, but the just shall live by faith. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations. See, he can't be, that's what I'm saying. He's insatiable. He can't be satisfied. He has everything, and he still wants to continue to suck from these other nations, man. You know? It says, and he's sucking on a level where they're not able to even develop. He's not just asking for tribute. He's trying to, he wants them to give he wants to make sure that they can't develop the amount of money that he's taking from them, the amount of debt that he's putting these nations in. It says, yea, because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. And that's what he does, right? He takes that which is not his, and people are starting to call him out on it. And that laying himself with thick clay is speaking about debt, thick debt. Okay, abatiat, which is a thick debt, right? And he's putting that debt upon these people. Okay, destroying them. That's what he does, right? And this guy even went into it about how China is becoming like the new economic hitman. And the scriptures speak about woe unto you, O Asia, for you have been a partaker with her, thou wretch, right? This is Habakkuk 2 and 7. Now it says, shall they not rise up again suddenly that shall bite thee, and await that shall vex thee? And thou shalt be for booties unto them, because thou hast spoiled many nations. All the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein. Woe to him that coveteth an evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. Okay, and that's what they do. They covet, they take, so that they're in a good position. Okay, right? But the Lord is going to kick them off of that position. Right? It says, thou hast consulted shame to thy house by cutting off many people, and has sinned against thy soul. And the Lord is going to make this type of stuff, the international, the economic hitman, and you know how Esau really has been running the world and what he's been doing to these third world countries. The Lord is going to blow that up, right? So that when you look at these devils like Matt Walsh, they really can't say shit, right? You know, that's where Esau's going to just transform into that next stage of just being a damn violent beast that he is. Okay. So anyways, man, that's the hammer of the earth. The scriptures speak about the hammer of the whole earth, which is Babylon the Great, America. Let's go to that real quick. The hammer of the whole earth. This is Jeremiah 50 in verse 23. It says, because this is Jeremiah 50 is going into what? The destruction of Babylon the Great. All right. Which is America. It says, how is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How is Babylon become a desolation among the nations? Yeah, because he came with, how was he a hammer? He was beating the nations down, beating them to powder, weakening the nations. All right. I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou wast not aware. Thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against Yahweh. You know, by your wickedness, you've striven against the Most High. Okay, it says Yahweh hath opened his armory and hath brought forth the weapons of his indignation, for this is the work of the Lord power of hosts in the land of the Chaldeans. Okay, so what is that weapon of his indignation? That's the nuclear missiles, and that's what he's going to use to wipe America off of the map. All right, straight up. You know, all that wickedness you did. You know, and who's the king of Babylon? By the way, it's not Jake. Okay, the king of Babylon is you Edomites, man. All right. So, anyways, Lord willing, this was edifying to the elect. And shalom to you, Akim, on the comment board. Shalom, shalom. And you sincere sisters. And I'll say shalom to the next video.